On the morning the first cat spoke to me, the sky above District 7 looked like tarnished aluminum, a dull sheen that promised rain, but delivered only static. I was crouched behind a derelict vending kiosk, calibrating my battered dosimeter, when a lean marmalade tomcat padded across the cracked pavement, sat, and stared. His irises glowed a faint emerald. My dosimeter's needle stayed at 0. The cat sniffed at the wind, lifted his head toward the sealed concrete tower ahead, and said, quite distinctly, "Human, leave. The walls sing death." I froze, not because a cat had spoken. That rumor had circulated for months on the pirate channels, but because I recognized the phrase. Walls singing was field slang among demolition engineers for gamma spall. You only heard it within moments of irreversible exposure. I glanced at my meter again. Still 0. Either the cat lied, or my device did. The cat flicked his tail, unimpressed by my hesitation. "Sensors blinded," he added, as if reading my confusion. "Shielded source 3 floors up." Then he trotted behind a pile of rubble. I followed him. Rationally, I should have retreated to the safe perimeter, filed a report, and let the ministry's hazmat drones verify. But rationality evaporates when someone saves your life, even if that someone purrs. He led me through a maze of shattered corridors that smelled of ozone and old petrichor, pausing every dozen steps to taste the air with his whiskers. Each time he did, a faint luminescence rippled through the short fur on his shoulders, like foxfire in motion. I realized the glow shifted with intensity, a living dosimeter. When we emerged onto what had once been a security balcony, the tomcat hissed and crouched. Ahead, 2 men in slate-gray hazard suits inspected a leaking cylinder the size of a coffin. Their suits bore the insignia of State Energy Division, but the patches were inverted, an old intelligence signal. Black work conducted under official cover. I filmed them with my lens implant. The cat growled so deeply, it vibrated my feet. "You film," he said, "but they will bury your voice in mine." His gaze was neither feline nor human, but ancestral. I whispered, "Who are you?" It sounded ridiculous, addressed to an animal, yet the answer dropped like frost. "Generation 3A, sensory splice with Dinococcus radiodurans chromophores, linguistic uplift administered at 12 weeks. Name is Pixel. Pixel. A government code name, not a pet's." I plucked an emergency iodine tablet from my kit and swallowed, though it would do little against gamma. "Why warn me?" I asked. "Why not run?" Pixel licked his paw. "Because you still believe facts matter. We need someone like that." Before I could respond, the suited men snapped their visors toward us. Pixel bolted sideways. I ducked behind fractured girders. A pulse round shrieked overhead, liquefying a strip of polymer wall. My implant kept recording. I crawled after Pixel, heart hammering louder than the collapsed ventilation fans. Radiation or bullets, choices that once belonged to wartime. We plunged down a stairwell luminous with his bio-radiant glow. "They'll track the light," I gasped. He replied, "They track heat, not hope," and dimmed himself to an ember. We reached an underground service tunnel where the stale air tasted of copper. Pixel sat on a rusted rail and spoke as though delivering a lecture. "After the Cascadia breach, citizens demanded transparency. So the ministry funded us, living alarm beacons. But when reactors kept failing, panic outpaced production, and they revised the contract. Silence the beacons. Our siblings were culled, tongues cut, larynxes excised. A few of us escaped with vocabulary intact. We wander, we warn, but mostly, we watch graves being poured." His voice quivered on the last sentence. I holstered my pistol, useless against state armor, and knelt. "Pixel, I'm only a freelancer. My feed reaches maybe 40,000 before sensors throttle bandwidth. He regarded me. 40,000 ears can seat 1,000,000 mouths. We do not require victory, only resonance. He leapt onto my shoulder, surprisingly light, claws gentle. The capsule above us holds enough cesium to render District 7 uninhabitable for a century. They intend a contained leak, just enough to thin property values. Reconstruction contracts are lucrative. I felt bile rise. Weaponized real estate speculation. We plotted. My implant could beam encrypted bursts if I reached a civilian net repeater. Those sat atop the elevated maglev route, 4 kilometers east. Pixel estimated we had 90 minutes before the cylinder's timed breach. The tunnel network paralleled the maglev pylons. We could move unseen. But first, evidence. We needed the cylinder's serial marks. Pixel offered navigation. I provided the stealth suit folded in my pack, woven with photo-adaptive fibers. Getting back upstairs meant evading the Haz suits and their sensor swarm, dragonfly drones with ultraviolet eyesight. The ascent was a choreography of shadows. Pixel guided me to maintenance vents whose infrared baffles still functioned. Twice we froze while drones buzzed past, their scan lasers painting lattice patterns on the walls. During one wait, Pixel whispered, "My mother was silenced at Lab 9. Her eyes said words she could not." I wanted to promise revenge, but journalism isn't vengeance, it's exposure. I said, "I'll show her eyes to the world." Pixel rubbed his cheek against my glove. "Then keep yours open." We reached the balcony again, this time above the men in suits. They were finalizing a countdown on a portable console, unaware of our return. I zoomed my implant. Serial codes glimmered under their work light. Pixel flattened himself and emitted a sound I'd never heard, a cross between a chirp and static crackle. The console flickered. The countdown froze. "EMP resonance," he explained. "Short range. Costs me calcium each time." He winced. A whisker fell, singed at the tip. I captured the halted timer, evidence of intent. But sabotage bought only seconds. The taller man slammed the console, rebooting it. I sealed my evidence burst and prepared to retreat. Pixel remained still, tail flicking. "Go," I urged. "Not yet," he said. "We need the isotope proof." He darted along the railing to a stack of containment crates. With a deft swipe, he opened a latch and snagged a pellet no bigger than a bead, dropping it into a lead sample vial from my belt. The radiation meter in my visor spiked, but remained within the vial's tolerance. Alarms erupted. Sensors had registered the opened crate. Pixel and I sprinted for a maintenance chute, diving as pulse fire shredded the balcony. Metal screeched. Concrete bursts blossomed like gray flowers. Inside the chute, we slid 40 meters to the rail tunnel, landing in foul water. Bruised but intact, we raced east. Overhead, klaxons propagated through the district. I knew the government would spin it as a terror drill. I kept streaming regardless, layering mirror sights faster than sensors could notice. The maglev viaduct loomed against the dim afternoon, its pylons like giant tuning forks. At their base squatted a repeater shack disguised as a vending stall. Pixel's ears flattened. "Smell gun oil." Sure enough, 2 security contractors lounged by the door, rifles cradled. No insignia, plausible deniability. Pixel whispered, "Distraction protocol?" I nodded. He trotted into view, meowing with theatrical innocence. One guard laughed and knelt, perhaps imagining a new pet. Pixel's shoulder fur brightened, first pale, then searing white. The guard recoiled, shouting about laser pointers. I used the commotion to slip behind and stun them with my shock baton. The shack's interior brimmed with routers and optic relays. I plugged my cranial jack into the main port. Upload speeds lagged. censorship filters sniffing for flagged metadata. Pixel perched atop a modem, tail wrapped like a question mark. "Encrypt deeper," he urged. I layered onion routes, bounced through off-world relays on Luna. Then I broadcast the full package. Video of the cat's creation contracts, the cylinder's serial logs, the sabotage timer, and Pixel's own testimony. For his safety, we masked his face, a concession he allowed only after I explained deepfake tracing. The transfer bar crawled. Outside, drone rotors crescendoed. I glimpsed their reflection in a cracked monitor. A swarm, hundreds, converging like locusts. 2 minutes, said Pixel. He began to hum. Low-frequency pulses that shook the router casings. The lights flickered, but data surged. Sound converting to throughput, his body acting as an organic amplifier. My display jumped from 40 to 80%. Blood trickled from Pixel's nose. The effort scorched him. I whispered, "Enough." He ignored me, humming louder, eyes glowing incandescent. At 96%, the shack's roof imploded. A drone the size of a refrigerator descended, turret primed. I flung myself over Pixel as ceramic flechettes peppered the walls. The router sparked. Connection lost. Pixel bit my wrist, hard, then vaulted through the ruined doorway, drawing fire. His cloak of luminescence dazzled the drone's sensors, causing targeting delay. I seized the moment, re-establishing link via secondary antenna, rerouting power from emergency cells. 70 meters away, Pixel zigzagged, each leap a strobe of blinding white. The drone adapted, switching to thermal. I saw the beam lock onto Pixel's heat signature. I screamed, but the air filled with crackling energy. A beam lanced out. Pixel shrieked, a sound beyond language, and toppled behind debris. The upload hit 100%. Automated mirrors propagated. I yanked the storage spindle, smashed the remaining hardware with my baton, and sprinted to Pixel. Smoke curled from singed fur. He was alive but trembling, hind leg useless. "We did it," I said. Tears instant. He managed. Resonance achieved, now protected. Helicopter blades thundered overhead. I couldn't carry Pixel far. He nudged the lead vial toward me. "This is your passport," he whispered. "Leave district?" I refused, but he stared, unblinking. "Others wait for your signal. Go!" He pressed a paw to the ground. A vibration rippled outward. A summoning? Moments later, silhouettes emerged. Half a dozen cats, various colors, eyes all glowing. One, a calico with a scarred muzzle, addressed me. "We'll guard him. You deliver story." My throat tightened. I gently placed Pixel among his kin, who licked his wounds. I fled into drainage canals, guided by underground cat paths marked with phosphorescent paw prints. Behind me, explosions echoed. The authorities were erasing the repeater site, the guards, any trace. But data is water. Once poured, it follows crevices. By dusk, I reached the independent broadcast barge on the river. Its crew patched my implant to the orbital darknet. Within hours, Pixel's warning looped across contraband billboards, hijacked AR games, even children's homework screens. Citizens watched Marmalade Eyes tell them about walls singing death and showed serial numbers matching ministry inventories. The government responded with predictable brutality. Denials, arrests, jamming signals. Yet something fundamental had shifted. People began bringing stray cats into their homes, listening for unaided whispers in the night. Protesters held up Geiger counters beside quiet alleyways, discovering hotspots officials swore were clean. When armored police charged, flares of bioluminescent fur guided crowds through safe escape routes. Each cat carried Pixel's spark, literal and metaphorical. I never saw him again, but every time a cat's eyes flash emerald at a city wall, I hear his voice. Sensors blinded, but not hearts. The song of the walls still rises, but now so does the chorus answering it.